So it was a Sunday, just like most every other Sunday. I got up, I went into the office early to get things ready for my responsibilities that morning for church. And things were going good. It was a good day. Matter of fact, it was a great day because it was Mother's Day. And so Mother's Day in churches is one of the most highly attended holidays that we have in the United States. And so the auditorium was filled with people. It just felt good to be singing and worshiping with the room being full. And we were doing a great job that morning. Our church was doing a wonderful job that morning of honoring mothers. We did some really cool, beautiful things, I remember, for that service. But then something kind of weird happened. What happened was my phone started buzzing in my pocket. And I pulled it out, and I thought, it's kind of weird. Somebody calling me right down here at church. And I looked down at it, and it was my dad. My dad was calling me on Mother's Day during church. I thought, well, that's a little odd. I mean, my dad knows that I'm in church. My dad knows that Sunday mornings are a really busy time for me. I kind of wondered, I bet maybe he's calling me to remind me that it's Mother's Day so I won't forget to call my mom, which I haven't ever totally forgot. I've gotten close, but I haven't totally forgotten. And so I thought, I bet you, he forgot what time it is, and the time changed, so I stick my phone back in my pocket, and I start singing again, start worshiping again, and my phone buzzes again. And I think, well, that's probably not a butt dial. So I pull my phone out, and sure enough, it's my dad. I'm thinking, well, surely he just didn't act like butt dial me. That's my dad. He's calling on purpose. And so I thought I should probably answer this. And so I went and I exited out the side door, and I pulled my phone out, and I pushed the button to call my dad. And from the moment that I pushed the button and I put my phone up to my ear, I went into a whole nother place in my spiritual imagination, in my heart, if that makes sense. I think it does make sense because you've done that. You've had those moments where all of a sudden you're here in this three-dimensional world, but everything kind of pauses for a moment because something big and significant has happened or maybe is about to happen. And you kind of pause and you kind of step out of yourself a little bit and you start looking into maybe what could be happening in the future. Maybe like, I don't know what you're talking about, Rob. What are you talking about? No, you know what I'm talking about because you've had the phone call at 3 a.m. where you thought, there's no good reason that somebody's calling me at 3 a.m. unless they've got bad news. And that moment of when you wake up, you hear the phone and you kind of realize what's going on and you go to grab the phone and you say hello, those few seconds right after you say hello, you start entering into this thought process. Oh man, what's about to happen to my life? How is my life about to change, most likely in a negative way? We've all had those moments. Family member is put in jail, perhaps, is what the phone call's about. Family member or a friend calls because they start the sentence off by saying, there's been a wreck. We've had calls of family members saying, your family member that you love dearly, they are in the hospital right now. You need to come as quickly as you can. We've all had those moments where everything slows down and we jump in to that future of thinking, what's about to happen? How is my life about to change? Well, sure enough, the words that came out of my father's mouth through the phone to me, they were the words of, hey, son, your mother is in the hospital and you need to get home as quickly as you can. It's not looking good. She was feeling sick last night. She wasn't feeling well last night. So we brought her up here and man, this morning, she's not doing good. You need to get home immediately. Whew. This is happening on Mother's Day, by the way. So man, I go back into the auditorium. People are still worshiping. People are still singing. People are still rejoicing in and celebrating the gift of their mothers. And I'm standing there surrounded by people who they all seem to kind of be on a spiritual mountaintop. And in the middle of all this joy, in the middle of all this worship, I'm down in a dark, dark valley. And death feels like it's looking over the cliffs at me and working its way down. As soon as church was over, there were people around me who they could tell, man, is everything okay? And so I just start telling people, yeah, please be praying. This is what's going on. And I'm not exaggerating. Within 15, 20 minutes, when I'm trying to hurry up and kind of tell everybody what's going on so I can get out of there, within 15 to 20 minutes before I can leave the building, people are coming up to me saying, man, we're praying for your mother tonight. Oh, we're going to be fasting the next couple of days, praying for your mother, for God to heal your mother. One of my elders came up to me and just said, I just booked you a ticket that's leaving in 2.5 hours from now. I put it on my miles. Man, go home and go be with your mother. And so, man, the next 6, 7, 8 hours, it's just a blur, running around and trying to avoid the heaviness of going back into that valley, thinking about what is going to happen to my mother here on Mother's Day. Am I going to lose her? Or worse? So I finally come into the hospital. And you know the feeling of walking into a hospital. You know everything about how it feels. It's a heavy place to have to go into, isn't it? And I walk into the waiting room and I'm seeing family members. I'm seeing my dad. I hug my father. My sister's there. I hug my sister. Everybody's saying, oh, the rest of the family's coming in, flying in as soon as they can. And my dad looks at me and says, Rob, do you want to go see your mother? And he says it with a heaviness and a seriousness of it that I'm realizing he's saying, you might need to go in and say goodbye to your mother right now while there's still time. And so I walk into the emergency room. And you've been in the critical unit rooms, right? They've got the lights turned down dark. They've got so many machines plugged in. There's so much noise. There's so much data. There's so many wires, electrical wires. There's so many tubes. There's so much going on. And I look at my small, frail mother laying in a bed with all the wires, with all the tubes surrounding her, invading her lungs and her veins. And I stand next to the bed of my mother, and I don't know if she's going to make it through Mother's Day. What happened is she had gotten ARDS, I believe is the medical term, and she had gotten a really bad case of, I guess, ARDS down in her lungs. And it was hard for her to breathe on her own. Her breath was wrestling to go into her and to come out of her enough to sustain her life. Her ruah, as the Hebrews writers call it. Her breath, her ruah, was not sustaining her. So machines would do the job for now. I stood there and I wept and I cried over my mother, and I did my best to say goodbye to the woman who gave me life. I stood there and I got ready to accept that she may enter death. And on Mother's Day, of all things, I hugged her. I kissed her the best I could on the head. I told her I loved her. I told her what she meant to me, and she probably didn't hear any of it. And then I left the ER room, and I went to the chapel. And there's something about a hospital chapel that when you enter into it, it's a heavy place to be, isn't it? Because you know the hundreds and thousands of people who have fallen down on this floor that you are now kneeling down on. And the span of where these people came from as far as what they thought about God. Some of them have served God their whole lives, and they're crying out to Him. They're saying, God, please keep giving your ruah to my loved one. And there are those on the other end of the spectrum who they don't pray to God, who they don't believe in God, maybe even. And they're falling down on their knees. And in the words of that modern day poet and lamenter, they are saying, I only pray to God when I need a favor. God, I need a favor. The hospital chapel is a heavy place to be, and I can't tell if it's all valley or if it's also some mountaintop place. And so I hit my knees, I hit the ground, I begin praying, I begin asking God to give my mother, the woman who gave me life, for Him to breathe ruah into her. And the whole time that I'm praying, there's elevator church music going on in the background, and that's fine, I don't care. But it's on loop, and it's just looped on one song. And so I don't really, I hate the fact that I even notice it. I hate the fact that as I'm praying, as I'm crying out, that I'm also kind of going, well, that's annoying. Who knows what's going on with me about that? But I begin to pull my Bible out. I begin to pull my device out, and I start looking up scriptures about God's ruah, about God's breath. And one of the first things I discover about God's ruah, His breath that He puts into us, is that He gives it to each living thing for a time. I mean, after all, it is His ruah. The same ruah He breathed into Adam, the first man. He's breathed into every other living creature since then. And He gives it to them as a gift, and He gives it to them for a time. And there will come a time where He takes it back. I mean, after all, it is His to give and to take. And so I begin reading scriptures and stories about God's ruah, about how Jesus, after He died, after His ruah left Him, and He rose from the grave, and He came to the disciples to encourage them. It says that before He left, He breathed over His disciples. And I have moments where as I pray, I'm on a mountaintop experience with God. And I have moments in the same room, in the same hour, that I am down in the valley, weeping and angry and questioning, are you really good, God? I mean, good grief. It's Mother's Day. And finally, I quiet myself. Finally, I stop talking and I just sit down on the pew and I just start breathing. And I start thinking about the breath in my lungs and the lack of it up a few floors. And I finally silence myself. And I finally start to listen. That elevator music, that song just on repeat. I know this song. Oh. And when I realize what the song is, I fall to the ground. And all sorts of emotions came out. And I can't describe each one, but I'll tell you what, each one of them was worship. Because of the song that was playing. The words are, "This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. Your Holy Spirit, ruah, living in me. This is the ruah. This is your ruah." And you give it to each person for a time. And the time will come that you will take it back from them. I'm so happy to tell you, my mother has been revived. My God spared my mother's life. He sent his ruah into her lungs abundantly, and it sustained her. There was no need for the wires. There was no need for the IVs. There was no need for the machines. It was just God breathing his ruah back into my mother. And I rejoiced and I celebrate. And I hope you rejoice and I hope you celebrate. But I know there will come a day that my God requires the ruah back from the woman who gave me life. And that the mother who gave me life, she will enter into death. And I will weep, and I will mourn, and I will spend time in the valley. But I will also rejoice, because my God once again has breathed new life into the dead. That day is coming. Do you have God's Spirit dwelling in you? Trust me, it gives you life and life abundantly.